Stop doing fundraising campaigns. And yes, I'm serious. And yes, I know I'm a fundraising coach, but there's a reason my students raise money faster and easier than they did before. And it's not because they're running more campaigns. And it's definitely not because they're copying whatever fundraising trend they're seeing on YouTube this week. And yes, I know I have fundraising campaigns on my YouTube channel. But in all honesty, the reason my students get results is this. They stop chasing ideas and start following a clear, intentional process. So if your fundraising plan feels like hopping from one tactic to the next because you saw it in a webinar or a blog post, that's not a strategy. That's panic disguised as productivity. One month it's a peer-to-peer campaign, next month it's a monthly donor push, then Giving Tuesday, then a raffle, then a last-minute grant scramble, and you're doing all of this while probably juggling a side job, the mission you care deeply about, and the quiet fear that you're running out of options. So no wonder you're exhausted. No wonder the money feels inconsistent. So today I want to share the real reason my students get results and what I always recommend doing before launching any fundraising campaign, even if it's one you saw on my YouTube channel. And that's the groundwork. And it's probably the part that you've avoided doing because it feels like a time suck or you're not sure how. But it's also the part that makes everything else work. Without it, every campaign feels harder, heavier, and more stressful than it should. So let's dive in because there are three parts to the groundwork, and we're going to walk through them together. And the first is looking at what's happening around you. Your nonprofit doesn't exist in a vacuum. Right now, donors are being asked constantly with appeals, events, sponsorships, campaign, matches, galas, and Giving Tuesday pushes. All of it. So before you plan your next fundraiser, let's zoom out and ask a few important questions. Like, what are other organizations in your space asking for right now? What campaigns are donors already being hit with this month or this quarter? And what events or appeals are happening at the same time as yours? If you don't look around, it's very easy to end up competing for the same attention from the same donors at the same time. Then there's the positioning piece. So when it comes to other similar nonprofits in your space, what makes your message different? What makes it easier for someone to say yes to you versus the five other asks they saw this week? This isn't about copying what other nonprofits are doing. It's about really understanding what makes you unique and worthy. Now, you can learn a lot by observing. So, who they're talking to, how they frame their ask, what kind of language they use, who do they have as supporters, sponsors, or partners? That information is already out there in annual reports, sponsor logos on materials, public donor walls, and social media shoutouts. All of that tells a story. So here's a simple place to start. Spend 15 minutes reviewing similar nonprofits. And when you understand that landscape, you can make better decisions. You avoid planning campaigns that compete head to head with bigger organizations down the street. You avoid scheduling events on top of major community fundraisers, and you spot gaps where your message can stand out instead of getting lost. And the best part, you identify potential donors for your organization. And when you do this piece of your groundwork, and your campaigns don't have to work as hard because you're no longer just more noise in a crowded inbox. Next, if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Before you plan another fundraiser, before you write another appeal, you need to get brutally clear on who your donors and potential donors actually are. And this is not just about individual donors. It's also about businesses that are genuinely aligned with your mission and grant funders who already fund work like yours. I'm not talking about people who care about our cause or any company with a logo or any foundation with money. I mean the real humans behind their donations. Who they are, where they already give, what issues they already fund or support, what values or outcomes matter most to them, and why they would choose you over 10 other nonprofits sitting in their inbox right now. This is where most nonprofits freeze. They assume figuring this out means guesswork surveys that no one fills out or hiring a consultant that they can't afford. So they skip it. But there are actually very practical ways to do this. Start with real data. So what's happening demographically in your region? Who lives there? What industries are present? Which businesses already support similar causes? Which grantors are actively funding organizations like yours? Now, inside my fundraising fast track, we use an AI donor persona tool that I built that pulls demographic data and market data from your region, then runs it through a second layer that turns that data into clear human-centered personas. Now, even if you never use my system, this is how I want you to think about your fundraising. Not just statistics on a page, though, but usable profiles that show you who you're talking to, what motivates them, and how they're most likely to engage. Because once you have that clarity, you stop trying to speak to everyone. You stop launching campaigns and messages that don't fit your audience. I mean, a huge mistake I see again and again is planning campaigns and writing fundraising appeals based on what we think people would respond to rather than understanding what actual potential donors would respond to. So, my tip here is to do a little research on who is most likely to support your organization. And you can even choose tools like AI, like Gemini or ChatGPT, to help you get started. Then there's a big groundwork piece that most people ignore, and that's capacity. This might feel uncomfortable, but stay with me. This is where a lot of well intentioned fundraising plans quietly fall apart. You have to be honest about how much time you could actually have, who is really doing the work, and what you can realistically execute well. Because a great campaign on paper means nothing if it doesn't fit your real life. If you're a founder with a day job, no staff, and maybe a volunteer who helps when they can, you don't need a complicated multi channel campaign with events, peer to peer, social media, raffles, and follow ups all running at the same time. That kind of a plan doesn't make you more strategic, it makes you tired. What you need is something simple, focused, and doable, a campaign that you can actually show up for consistently. So when you plan around your true capacity, fundraising gets easier. You stop dropping balls, you stop feeling behind, and you start building momentum instead of burnouts. So for my students, this is exactly why we start with a fundraising audit and a simple SWOT analysis. We look at what's actually working and what isn't. So look at what systems, donors, skills, or assets you already have in place. Also look at where you're stretched too thin and where there are real opportunities that you can realistically pursue right now and where you might need to mitigate any threats. As a bonus, write down how many hours you could actually give to fundraising this month. That's how we avoid overbuilt plans and under-resourced campaigns. So let's bring this all home. When you understand your donors, you can design fundraising that actually is meant for them. When you understand your capacity, you can build plans that work for you. And when you understand your place in the sector, you stop duplicating what everyone else is doing and start standing out in a way that feels natural and credible. That's the difference. You're no longer forcing things to work. You're choosing the right approach on purpose. And that decision only comes after the groundwork. This is exactly how I've helped so many nonprofits stop spinning their wheels and start raising money with confidence instead of chaos. So, if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I get it, but I don't know how to do all of that, well, that's completely normal. Most nonprofits were never taught this. They were handed tactics, not a system. And once you have the systems, fundraising stops feeling random and starts feeling manageable. So, having said all that, up next, I've queued up a video for you on how to identify your best donors before you ever run another campaign. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next week.